I have a lot of really fond memories at BYU, and not only that, it wasn't like I was really here that long ago. So I can relate to what a lot of you are going through, I think. What I'm going to talk a little bit today is some of my experiences when I first got started and how I started my business. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some steps that I think are really important if you are going to start a business that will help you. And then at the end, if we have time for questions, we might go over some of those. First of all, how many of you know what Nickel City is? Raise your hand. How many of you have been to Nickel City? All right, that's pretty good. I'm excited. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's a family entertainment center. We charge an admission fee to go into our facilities, and then our games, our video games, they operate on nickels. And then we have laser tag and birthday parties and a pizza and all that great stuff that goes along with that. And for students, I think it's great because a lot of you probably don't have a lot of money, and it makes for a cheap date, and it's really fun. So anyway, that's the business that I started. I hope you don't mind. I kind of walk around. I don't like to just stand in one place. When I was first growing up, I grew up in Southern California, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with my life, probably like a lot of you. And I was taking a class, an after-school class, and it was a class on personal finance. And the teacher gave us an assignment, and it was to do a budget for what it would be like when we got older, once we had a family, once we were trying to make all those decisions and be able to afford all those things. And so I went to my parents, and I said, well, how much does it cost to buy a house? How much does it cost for insurance? How much does it cost to do all these things? Because I had totally no idea what it was going to be like. And at the end of this little experiment, or this project, I realized that life is really expensive. And if we want to have some of the things that we want to have in life, or go certain places, or not work our whole life, then we need to start saving. We need to start taking steps. And so it was an early age. I kind of figured, okay, I got to really figure out what I'm going to do with my life and be able to come up with some kind of strategy. So I thought, okay, no problem. I'm going to work really hard in school. I'm going to get really good grades. And then maybe one day I'll be a doctor or a lawyer, or how about even just a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I thought that would be great. I have enough money to take care of my family and do those things. And so that was kind of my goal. In high school, I worked really hard, and I got good grades, and things were going really good. Well, then I came to BYU. And I don't know how it is for most of you, but I realized really fast that I was not the smartest kid anymore. I was actually way, way below everybody that was around me. I was looking at my roommates. I was like, whoa, these people are so smart. They're so bright. They're going to be able to do all these things. And there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to be a doctor. There's no way I'm going to be a lawyer. I can't do it. I didn't have the grades to do that. And so I was kind of frustrated again, like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? How's everything going to work? Well, fortunately, like I said, I went to BYU. And I took this class that you guys and ladies are in right now, and it totally changed my life. I loved this class. And I don't know, some of you in this room are probably falling asleep. Some of you are just kind of here because you need some credits. I don't know what your situation is. But when I was here, I fell in love with this class. I loved it so much that when I was here at school, they offered it 2 days in the week. And I went to both those classes, and I did my whole schedule around those two classes because I wanted to make sure that I went to those. And then they had luncheons that were shortly after when they would speak, and I would go to those. And it was really neat because there was no students there, mostly. There was like maybe a handful. And so I got to be in this environment with these entrepreneurs, and I got to ask them all these questions. And I started to figure out, you know what? These guys, they've started things. These aren't the brightest, the best people in the world, but they're able to come up with ideas. They're able to have people around them that are really smart, and they can start something and do really well. And so I realized that very quickly that entrepreneurship, starting a business, owning my own business was something that I wanted to do, and it was because of this class that you're in today. So I hope that as I speak that you'll kind of, if you have that passion or that excitement, that you'll be able to kind of use that to propel you forward and maybe think about some ideas and some things that you can start. And I realize a lot of you in here are probably not business majors, right? And that was how I was. I was a recreation management major. I'm not exactly sure what you do with recreation management, but I actually ended up doing something kind of related to that. But I didn't think I was when I was here. So anyway, I was at BYU. I had a great time here. I loved being here. But I knew I wanted to do something in business, but I didn't know what. And I think that's a common challenge that people that really like this kind of stuff that we're talking about face, because they're like, oh yeah, okay, it sounds good. Yeah, I want to be my own boss. I want to set my own hours. I want to be able to control the environment that I'm in. That's perfect. But what do I do? You know, is there something that I can make? Can I manufacture something? Can I sell a service? And so that's where I was. And I was just kind of confused. I knew I wanted to do it. And when I went to this class and these luncheons, I got all the business cards of the people that would speak in here. And I thought, okay, you know what? When I'm ready to start my venture, start my business, I'm going to be able to go to all these people that have lots of money, and they're going to be able to finance my business. And that was my strategy. Well, I was trying to, again, like I said, figure out what I was going to do. And one of the things that I did when I was here, I was really involved in trading stocks. And I would go into the computer lab, and I would do my homework during the day, and I would follow stocks, and I would trade stocks. And I'd research companies. And I just started to do this. And it was something that I liked to do. And back when I was doing it, the market was really, really great. And things kept going up and up and up. And you didn't really have to be that smart. And you could do all right. Well, I started to do this, and things were going great. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And then the market collapsed. There was the kind of the tech boom, and then the tech kind of time when everything went away. And so I realized really fast that I couldn't keep doing that. And I needed to use my money to do something. So I told my family and friends, and I said, okay, I want to find something that I can do. I want to own a business. See if there's anything out there that you can see that somebody wants to sell. One day, my dad said, he was looking in the paper. It was a little classified ad in the local paper, and it was for an arcade that was for sale. And I was like, huh, okay, that sounds interesting. So I looked at it, and it was called Nickelcade at the time. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'd been there, and that was really fun. I had a really great time, and I was like, you know what? I think that's something that I could do. And so I took all the money that I had saved up. I'd worked really hard over the years, and I didn't really even realize that business was kind of my passion, because I was always starting businesses on the side. I'd buy a vending machine, and I'd place it somewhere, and I'd make something in my house, and I'd go door to door, and I'd sell things. And so I kind of was doing it, but I didn't really realize it. And so when this opportunity came before me, I said, this is awesome. I'm gonna do it. And you have to realize when you're young, I was a junior when I was here at BYU when I did this. It was an interesting experience, because I was taking all this money that I'd worked really hard for, putting all the money that I had, and I'd saved up a fair amount, and then I had to borrow from some other people. And anytime when you do that, it's no longer your business. You have investors you have to pay off. You have to make sure that it succeeds, and it's not just something that's going to go to the wayside. So I was really committed to making it work. So I was really excited. I was like, this is my first big venture. I'm gonna be a businessman. And I'm at school, and things are going, things are really great. So I was just in cloud nine. So little did I know, I was really opening up a can of worms. So I came, one of the first days when I came to work, I went in the back, and I had a manager that was there running the store, doing his stuff. I went in the back, I was setting up accounts, working with vendors. And then I came back to the front, and I started looking around, and I was like, where's my manager? And I was like, oh, he's probably in the bathroom. I checked the bathroom, he's not there, and I couldn't see a manager. And then I went up to the cash register, and I looked at it, and there was this note. And on the note, this isn't the note, but in the note, it said, I quit. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. My manager just quit? Like, I didn't even get to know him. Like, at least you could have told me you were going to quit, something was going to happen. So I was really frustrated. But I was like, you know what? No problem. I got other employees. This is not a problem. So I started talking to the other employees. They're going to teach me how to run the business, how they're going to do this. And so I started talking to them, and I realized the first person I had talked to had just been hired a week before. And then the next person that I talked to had just been hired like the week before. And everybody that I was talking to knew like nothing about the business. They had just like literally been hired, and I was going to them to show me like how it's done, and they didn't know anything. So I was just like, oh, great. I have no manager. Now I basically have no employees that know what to do. Well, then I started looking around, and this game started to break. And then I walked over here, and this monitor on this game went out. And then there was a coin jam on this one. And everything just started to break and break and break. And I thought, are you kidding me? I thought you just buy games, people put coins in it, you collect it, and you go to the bank. This is an easy business. And there was all these problems. And so I was just like, oh, man, what am I going to do? No manager, no real employees. All my games are breaking that I just spent all this money for. And so I was starting to get really depressed and really just kind of worried about the business. Well, when I bought the business, the person that I bought it from, they gave me 40 hours worth of training that they could train me. Or they said, you can use my technician to come and repair the games. So all the training that I was going to receive from the owner, I know how to use all those hours to have somebody come out and fix all this stuff that I had no idea what I was doing with. So no manager, no employees, broken games, and the owner is basically kind of, oh, you're on your own, Dan. So I was like, oh, okay, great. So we got a lot of things that are really hard right now. Well, if you think back to your schedule right now, okay, I was a student at BYU. I was going to school full-time. I had church responsibilities. I had to wake up early on Sunday and go to meetings. I was running one of the clubs here at school. I was trying to have some kind of social life. I was hoping that someday somebody would actually want to marry me. So I was trying to date and do all these things. And I was trying to run this business that was just like going down the hole really, really fast. And it was so tough. It was really, really hard. It was a hard time in my life because I was totally excited for this new challenge, and I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was really, really hard. And I just got really discouraged. And like I said, I was doing all these things, and I remember times I would wake up in the morning, and I'd have just like a few hours of sleep, and I had these big circles under my eyes, and I was just completely exhausted. I felt like I was just like a walking zombie walking around school because I was just trying to do all these things all at the same time, and it was really tough. And so a lot of you are thinking about starting businesses, and while you're students, I think it's great, and I'm for it. And like I said, I did it, but it can be really hard and can be really challenging. Well, anyway, so all this is going on, and like I said, it was really hard for me. Really, a real big struggle for me in my life. And I just said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I got to get out. I got to figure something out. I need to sell this business. I know I just bought it. I'd been doing it for a little while. And I said, okay, I'm going to find somebody that wants to buy it. I'm sure it's a good business for somebody, but it's just not the right fit for me. So they offer these classes for the entrepreneurship department here at BYU where you can go to mentors and teachers, and they'll talk to you, and they'll answer your questions and help you start your business. And I went there, and the person I went to, his name was Jerry Nelson, and he still teaches here at BYU. Really great person. And I came into the class, or in the room with him, and I said, Jerry, I want to sell my business. How do I sell my business? And he's like, what? You want to sell your business? Everybody comes to me and they say, I want to start a business. How do I start a business? And it was funny. I talked with him a few years ago. He says, you're the only student that's ever come and said, I want to sell a business. And I thought that was kind of funny because I was just fed up. So he said, you know what, Dan? Okay, let's just look at this business for a second. Let's open up the numbers. Let's see how the business is doing. See if we can figure something out, and then we can figure out how we want to sell it. So anyway, we did this kind of going through the numbers, going through the books, and Jerry comes to me and he says, Dan, why do you want to sell your business? And I said, what do you mean? I just told you there's all these problems with it. And he's like, Dan, you're making so much money. And I was like, yeah, it's doing okay. But it's just as hard and it's tough and there's things and there's problems and all this stuff. And he says, you're crazy. Why are you doing it? And I said, no, I want to sell the business. I'm done. So I tried to sell it for a short period of time. And my good fortune was I wasn't able to sell it. I didn't really put enough effort in trying to sell it. And that was a really big blessing for me that I didn't sell it. And I'm going to talk about these 10 steps that I think that are important. That's kind of one of them that I'll touch later. Well, anyway, it was hard. I continued to work. It was difficult. And then something really great happened. You're never going to believe what happened. I graduated from BYU. I was so excited. I graduated from BYU. And you're like, why is that such a big deal? Well, for the first time in my life, I had all this time that I could spend working on my business. I wasn't having to go to all my classes and manage and balance everything. I could focus a lot of time on that. Well, I did that, and things slowly started to get better. I started to fly around to different places, different facilities, and talk to different people. And I started to take classes on electronics and how to fix components and things, stuff that I had no idea about before. And so I started to slowly learn a little bit more, and I got a little more confident each time, and things slowly started to get better. Well, a little while later, somebody approached me, a business broker, and they said, there's another opportunity somewhat like yours in another state, and they have some locations. Would you be interested in looking at those? And I said, are you kidding me? Yeah, I definitely want to grow. I want to expand. And so I flew out, and I went to all these stores, and I was checking them out, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea, and I'd write that down. And I was like, oh, that's neat the way they do that, and that's how they buy that. And I was taking all these notes, and I was all ready, and I was getting my finances together to buy this company, and the deal fell through. And I was like, oh, man. Again, things are going good, then they go bad. Things were going really good, then they go bad. When I was doing this process, driving around to all these locations, looking at different things, I saw a store, and it was an arcade, and the arcade had closed, and I looked in the window, and there were all these games in there, and I came back, and I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I should probably call that store and see, if they'd be interested in selling me their games. So I called them up, and it was this Japanese company, and I was talking to them. I was like, okay, if you want to sell these games, I might be interested. And they called me back a few days later, and they said, yeah, we'll sell you those games. Are you interested in any of our other locations? And I said, yeah, definitely. So I said, okay. I had to go through this whole process, due diligence and everything, to figure out if it was a good investment. So I started to buy a bunch of other stores. And then I started to buy locations that were closing. And then we would take these games, and we'd move it to a completely different environment where these old games were, and into a new area where people weren't used to them, and we started to build stores that way. And I started to build stores and do another one, and things started to go really well. It was a lot of work. It was hard, but it was really fun, and I enjoyed doing it. Well, when I was here at BYU, actually your speaker on Wednesday, Josh James, I went to one of his presentations, and he was a student when I was at BYU, and he was talking about this concept that really resonated with me. And he was saying, you know what? If you're really willing to dedicate and work really hard on your business or something for a real short period of time, 5, 10 years, whatever that is, if you do that really hard and work like nobody's willing to work, then you can live the rest of your life how nobody's able to live their lives. Because I was always used to being around people that really didn't enjoy going to work. They didn't like what they were doing, and they'd kind of always be like, I have to go to work on Monday, and it was hard. And so I said, I don't want to spend my whole life working. I want to be able to do other things with my life and not just always have to go in. And so I set the goal. I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to work really hard. And I said, when I turn 30, I'm going to sell off all my businesses. I'm going to sell off all the stores, and then I'm going to enjoy the good life. Okay, so that was my plan, and I turned 30, and I started to sell off the locations, and I was totally excited for my new part of my life to just kind of go around. I had a friend that had a plane, and we'd I was working on my pilot's license and would fly around and would travel and do all these things. And this was just going to be totally awesome time. I hated it. I was so bored. I was so used to working really, really hard and building these stores and doing all this work. And I realized that retirement and just kind of vegging out and doing nothing really isn't satisfying in life. I was enjoying what I was doing, even though it was tough at times. I really had a passion for what I was doing, and I enjoyed it. So I decided I was living in Southern California. I came back to Utah. I bought a store here and kind of moved it around and kind of restarted one in Orem. And I've kind of been doing some other business projects and things since then. But, you know, there was a talk a few years ago President Uchtdorf gave, and it was kind of along these lines where it's like, you know, those pictures of retirement and just laying on the beach and doing all those things. You know, that's not what life is really about. It's about having a purpose for life. And it's really great that, you know, everybody in here is attending Brigham Young University. Whether or not you're a member of the church or not, it doesn't matter. The point is that you're learning these principles that are really important and learning about Jesus Christ and his purpose and his atonement and how it plays into our lives. So that was kind of a little bit my experience in business, kind of hurried. So there's 10 things that I want to talk about that I think can really help anybody who's starting a business, who's thinking about starting a business, or just, you know, in life in general. The first thing that I want to say, and I mean this truly and sincerely, is that everything that I have been blessed with is because of my Heavenly Father. And I have been incredibly lucky, incredibly blessed, and I don't know why that is, but I can tell you there's been so many times in my life when I was starting my business that were so challenging and so hard. I can remember like coming home and just like bawling in my pillow. I was so frustrated and hard. And I'd just get down on my hands and my knees and I'd ask my Heavenly Father, I said, I need your help. Please bless me. And I can just tell you, so many times he was there for me and he helped me and he blessed me. And so as you're contemplating maybe starting a business, I would encourage you to make him a part of that. And to make him, you know, in the scriptures it talks about how we need to pray over our fields and our flocks. And you know, he cares about us. He doesn't care how much money we have or what possessions we end up with. But he's there for us and he cares about us. And I know that if you include him, that he will bless you. And I can tell you countless times while I was working that he was able to be there for me, to bless me, and to help me. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is it's really important that you learn how to focus on what you're doing and become really good at what you're doing. Sometimes I almost put like blinders on in a sense. If you're you know, becoming a piano salesperson, you know, that you understand the piano, how it works, the intricacies of how it's built and everything. Whatever it is you do, study it, learn it, go around, figure out what it is about your industry or your trade, and become really good at it. You know, when I started out, I'd go to different trade shows, and I was literally the youngest person there. And I felt like I didn't know anything. And I'd go around and I'd talk to all these people and ask all these questions. Sometimes I felt really dumb doing it. But over the years, I was able to learn and learn and learn. And now when I go to the trade shows, I know much more than a lot of the people there. And they come to me. And now I'm able to consult and help other companies. And so always learn to focus on what you're doing and become really good at it. The next thing, the third thing, is that, and this is just my personal opinion, and I know a lot of you are here to start a business, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like buying existing businesses versus starting businesses from scratch. And the reason I like that is, first of all, there's a high failure rate for businesses for various different reasons. Then to get your business up to a certain level, you got to spend all these hours and years to get to where it is. And it's just, to me, it takes a long time and you don't know if it's going to work. You put all this money and this time and this effort and you hope that it's going to succeed and you don't know. I would rather pay a little more of a premium for an existing business that I know that's out there, that is running, and hopefully find something that has areas of opportunity to grow it and to make it better. So that's what I like. I look at a lot of different businesses every day that are for sale, and that's something that I like. I guess I'm not as creative as some of the people probably in this room that can come up with a great idea and make something, make a widget or make it better or something. That's not my area. So that's what I would suggest. The next thing that I would say is learn to be frugal. And this is really important because if you're starting something, well, first of all, you probably don't have a lot of money to get it going. So you need to learn to be frugal. You need to learn to save. You need to make your dollars stretch. You know, when I was starting in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money. And so I had to save. I worked really, really hard to get the business paid off. And then after I had that business paid off, all the other operations that we built were all self-financed. I had no debt. And there were a lot of opportunities that came my way when there was places for sale that I could go in and make the transaction really quick because I could go in, see if I wanted it, offer cash, and buy it right away. Versus a lot of other different parties would have to kind of figure if they had the funds, and they'd have to go back to a committee or do something. And so we were able to operate and move really fast by becoming debt-free and being frugal. And as you grow your business, it's important that, you know, as more money comes in, that you don't just spend it out. You continue to save it and make things stretch. You know, when I was here at BYU, you know, I was making a really decent six-figure income, and I guarantee you I had the cheapest apartment in town. I had the car that I had in high school. I've had it for so long. And, you know, I never was trying to just spend. I was trying to save money, waiting for that rainy day. And in business, that was a key factor to my success because I was able to have the cash to grow the business and to make it succeed. The next thing that I would say, number 5, is learn to get involved. And this is really important. And this doesn't matter if you're trying to start a business or if you're just an average Joe student, okay? Learn to be involved. Don't just be one of those people that sits on the fence in life. You know, if you're going here to BYU, go to the devotionals, go to your family home evening activities, get involved in clubs, get to know your teachers, talk to them. And it's one of those things, I don't know why it is, but in life when you're active and you're involved and you're doing things and you're serving people, you're more happy. And if you can always take that attitude to be involved, get out there, you know, be open to ideas, talk to people, it really helps out. And as you do that, and as you learn to go the extra mile, to do what not everybody else is doing, it makes a big difference. There's been so many times where people have approached me with different ventures, and they're just like, oh, you know what, I remember you when you were at BYU and we were doing this. When I was here, I wanted to learn about investments. You know, I talked about how I was trading stocks, and that was something that I wanted to learn. So I started a club on campus, an investment club, and we got students together, and we'd talk about ideas, and we invited speakers in to come and talk, and we did it every week. And it was almost a little selfish on my part because I wanted to learn these things for myself, and so I started this, and I know the people that I brought in to speak, I'm still, you know, really good friends with them. And so by being out there and being involved and just doing stuff, it's going to make a big impact upon your life. And as you carry that trade into business, it will definitely help you. The next thing I would say is, losing my train of thought, is persistence. And I talked about how when I first got started, how I almost gave up. And it kind of was a chance of fate, whatever you want to call it, that I didn't give up, that I didn't sell, that it didn't work out. But people that succeed are the ones that keep going. You know, I talk about all these trials that I had when I was early on, and it was really tough. And like I said, I can't emphasize how hard it was in the beginning. But I kept pushing on. I kept trying. I kept trying to go back and figure it and make it better. And if you're persistent, it's gonna be a huge factor. A lot of businesses don't succeed, and there's a lot of different reasons why they don't succeed. There might not be enough capital, there might not be enough customers. But one of the things that happens, a lot of people, they give up or they get burned out. They go into work and they're like, I've been doing this, I'm just making a so-so income, and they just say, I'm just done with it. And that next opportunity could just be a door away. But if you just continue to give up, it's going to be hard. Now, of course, there's going to be those times when you do something and you're up against a wall and it does make sense to stop. But if you take that attitude of always trying to persist, to keep going, to just try a little bit harder, it will pay huge dividends for you in the future. The next thing that I would recommend, when I was here at BYU, I had a class by Larry Miller. It was kind of a weird class because he would just come in and he would just talk about his life and his experiences. And those of you that know who he was a business person here in Utah, and the jazz and car dealerships and a lot of other different ventures. And it was really fun to talk to him and to hear his experiences. But he said when he was in the class, he said, if you want to be successful in business, all you got to do is two things. He said, one is be on time, and two, have a good attitude. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting idea. Here's this guy that was totally successful, did a lot in his somewhat short life, and he's saying, okay, be on time and have a good attitude. And it's kind of crazy how far a good attitude goes, but if you learn to adapt that, it's gonna help you out. If you're working for somebody, you can be there and you can just do what you're supposed to do, or you can take the attitude, okay, how am I going to help this business? How am I going to help my employer? How am I going to help them grow? And no matter how hard it is, no matter how early he wants or she wants me to come in, I'm going to have a good attitude. They're going to notice that, and those are the people that are going to rise to the top. So always remember to have a good attitude, and then just to be on time. It's funny, there's a lot of things that happen in life. There's lots of things that go on. If you can try to just be punctual when you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, be there at that time, and have that attitude, and that will definitely help you. The next thing I would say, my number 9 thing is to be yourself. Be yourself. You know what? There's so many different personalities out there. When I was really young and I was trying to figure out what I did, I opened up one of those Forbes magazine of the 500 richest people, and I started looking at it and said, okay, I am going to figure out which industry is the best one to be in, and I'm going to look at that. And I started to do that. I was like, okay, these people are in oil. These people are in internet. These people are in manufacturing. These people are in services. And I realized really quickly, you know what? You can succeed, you can do well in any industry, in any field. You just have to find something out there that interests you. And be yourself, Everybody's going to have, whether you're Mark Zuckerberg, that's this kind of quirky, nerdy guy or whatever, or you have somebody like Steve Jobs who's out there and in your face, and there's different personalities. It doesn't matter. Just be who you are, and you'll make it work. The last thing, the number 10 thing that I think is really important is when you're starting something, when you're doing it, have fun. You know what? I'm in a business where I work with video games and people trying to have fun and coming, and it's a really fun business, and it's great for me, but I'm personally not a video gamer. I don't sit at home and play video games all day long. That's just not who I am. That's not really my interest. But I'm in a field that incorporates that, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy it because I'm able to wear different hats every day. One day I might be, working on finances. The next day on marketing. Another thing I might be doing HR stuff. And so I'm able to do a lot of different things, and it's fun for me because you really get a report card every day when you own your own business. And you get that by the revenue that comes into your business and what's left over. So find something that's fun, that you have passion for in life. I'm lucky because I enjoy going into work. It's something that I like. And that's why I said when I was going to retire and be done, it was so hard for me because I realized that it was enjoyable, and that trying to make transactions and trying to put together deals, it was interesting, and it was stressful and it was hard, but it was fun, and so that I learned to make that a part of my life. So those are the 10 things that I would stress, just to kind of repeat those again. The first thing is relying upon the Lord, making sure that He's a part of your life. The second thing, again, is to focus on what you're doing and become really good at it. The next thing for me was existing businesses versus new ventures. Fourth, again, was frugality. Fifth was getting involved and being a doer. Sixth was persistence, always going and going and going. The next thing was to have a good attitude and to be on time. The next thing was being yourself and also having fun in what you do. So those are the things that I think will help you as you grow. If you're thinking about starting a business, if I was in your shoes, what would I do? The first thing that I would do is I would go around and I would just start looking for problems. Just look around for problems. What frustrates people? What do people just hate to do? Or why isn't there a solution to this? And go out there and find the answer to that. It's just kind of, business isn't rocket science, okay? If you think about it, you just keep it really simple. What you do is you find a problem, you find a solution, you make sure that there's a big enough environment of people. If you find a solution that only 2 people care about, you're not going to make any money. But if you find a big enough problem that a lot of people have, and you price it right, you're going to be able to sell it. And so, like I say, it's really not that complicated if you think about it. When I was young, and I really enjoyed going to different arcades. As my family would go, and when we'd visit, we'd come up to Utah, and we'd look for activities, and we'd go to the arcade. And my family didn't have a lot of money, and so when we would go to these places, I would be given like 50 cents, 2 quarters. And it would be like, okay, kids, have a fun time. 2 quarters, okay, and I'd walk around the arcade and I'd be like, okay, what game am I going to play, now? And that's my next one, okay, and I'm done. And so to me, the problem was people enjoy these things, but it was too expensive. My quarters would just be gone before I even was ready to leave. And so by offering kind of a different business model where you could say, okay, you pay a certain amount and then all your games are 1/5 the price of anything else around, then you're going to be able to have a business. And so I was able to solve that problem. And by solving that problem, other people could relate to that, and it succeeded. So look for those problems out there. There's so many of them. It's just one of those things where you can be walking around and going somewhere and you see something and you're like, yeah, that's nobody's addressed that issue. Let's hit that. And if you do that, I think that you'll be able to make it work. And then also, I would just say to go out and do it. You know what? That's the biggest problem that I've worked with some young students, and they have ideas, they have things that they want to do, and they talk about it, and they talk a good game, but they're not actually out doing anything about it. It's like if you think you have something, you think it's great, go make it, go sell it, see if it works or not. And by just taking that action, you're going to realize that that's what separates the people that succeed and those that don't. It's the ones that are out there making things happen while the rest of the people are out there and they're watching things happen. So always just try to, if you have a good idea, it's fresh on your mind, it's hot, go after it, and it'll definitely help. And also, you know what, a lot of you are probably maybe not even interested in business. And you know what, I really think that's okay. Not everybody Not everybody wants to start a business. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. If everybody was an entrepreneur, then we need people to help us along the way. And so that's all right. And I think it's being able to understand yourself, understanding what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and being able to decide, okay, yeah, I think I can do this. And if you decide to do it, then go for it. Have fun, like I said. Try it. And I think you'll like it. I really do. Because if you think about it, if you're not happy, if you're collecting a paycheck and that's what you're getting each month, and that's what you do, and that's your thing. But if you want to go out and say, if I want to work really hard, I'm going to make more. If I'm going to be a slacker, then I'm not. So for me, I wanted to be in charge of my destiny. I didn't want people to tell me, okay, this is what you need to do. This is how much you're going to pay. I said, you know what? I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to be really good, and I'm going to start my own business. And that allowed me to do that. It allowed me to create my own schedule, how many hours I wanted to work. It allowed me to have influence over the people that were around me. I could decide, if there's a creep working with me and I said I don't want to work with them, then I wouldn't hire that kind of person. So I put people around me that I enjoy, that I like working with. And for me, it makes my life better. And as any entrepreneur will know, a lot of times we like to set our own hours and do that, but we always end up putting in more hours than we'd like because we again enjoy what we do. So go out there, make things happen. There's nothing wrong with getting a job somewhere else and learning and then taking that step. When I told you when I retired, after I retired, the first thing that I did after I was completely bored is I got a minimum wage job at Chuck E. Cheese. Okay, I started all these stores, had all this success, and I applied for a minimum wage job at Chuck E. Cheese. Put on my little mascot, little uniform, did my little dance, did all that stuff, and I started to learn. I said, I want to see how they do it. I had no training. I didn't know. I wasn't a business major. I said, okay, I'm going to go to a company. I'm going to learn how they do it. I want to see how their practices are, what they do good, what they do bad, and I can learn from it. And so if I was in your shoes, I'd be saying, okay, I'll go out there. I'll get a job. I'll learn how something is done, and then I'll take that step, that leap of faith to start a business. So, that's something that I might recommend doing is going out there, getting that experience, and then starting your business. There's no wrong way to do it, but that's something that I think if I had done that would have helped me. My path might have been a lot different, but that's just the way that I did it. So those are the things that I would recommend, what I would suggest for each one of you. I wish you the best. Brigham Young University is an amazing university. And you're so blessed because you have so many people that have the same values that you do. And you have so many opportunities from professors to whatever to go to get those answers. So take advantage of it. Enjoy this time. Just enjoy it. This is a wonderful time in your life. And like I said, I wasn't here that long ago. And any of you that could start something, any of you could succeed. People always say, well, if he started it, I can start it. And that's true. There's nothing special about me, but I went out there, I worked hard, I focused on what I was doing, and I was really, really blessed along the way. So I wish you all the very, very best of luck, and I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.